Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, March 14th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron. Matt Robinson's just a little delayed. He'll be with us shortly, but we have ourselves, as we mentioned a couple of times this week, we've got ourselves a guest here joining us on this Thursday show, live from the beautiful country of Sweden, or so I've been told. Many people that have played there, Eric, have told me how nice it is in Sweden, so I figured I'd say that. From Sweden, Eric Delarose, former pro hockey player, brother of Jacob Delarose as well, joining us here on the Ice Guys show, and a very avid, savvy NHL bettor as well. And that's exactly why he's on the show with us. Eric, welcome to the Ice Guys. Glad you could make your debut. How are you over in Sweden today?
Glad to be here. I'm doing good. As I'm retired now, I've been working the 9 to 5 now, the normal job day. So just finished that and been home a couple hours with the family. So I'm doing good.
Absolutely. Good to have you with us. I was going to say it's not an office job or you got to go and do construction for me or anything, being a full-time sports bettor for the last decade. So I can't say 9 to 5 because at this time of year, Eric, for me, over here in the U.S. with the college basketball around the clock, it's like 9 to 9, basically, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The kind of hours I'm putting in right now. It's just a hectic time of year. I know everyone's excited about college basketball and March Madness, but we're going to park that on this show because hockey is our focus, and that's our first love, the NHL and hockey. So we'll break down the Thursday card in just a little bit. But first, Eric, we'll get a little introduction on your background, who you are, how long you played, and talk about how you got into hockey as a young kid. Obviously, your brother obviously got into it as well, but talk about how you got into hockey over in Sweden.
Yeah, how I got into it, I don't really remember, but we started early. Me and my brother, we're 2 years apart. But as you Canadians know, a lot of guys in Sweden play hockey as well. It's one of the most popular sports. So we played actually a lot on the same teams when we were young, and we also played juniors together, and we lived together in juniors. We actually rented a house where we lived. So we've been following each other almost our whole life until we got to like the senior level of play. We played 1 year senior together in Leksand, Sweden. In the second division in Sweden, and after that I didn't get a contract, and he got drafted to the Montreal Canadiens. So there's where we
not just any
where
team
we parted
either.
ways.
The fucking Montreal Canadiens. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was really cool to be there. We were in Prudential Center, New Jersey, so we stayed in New York for a week for a draft, and Montreal is actually my favorite team before my brother got drafted, so that was really cool to see him get drafted by my favorite team. So that's a little bit about our background together. And then for me, my professional career, I played for 3 years professional in Sweden, 2 years in the Czech Republic, and 5 years in Norway.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that Sweden, Norway, a couple different countries, couple of different leagues, and what we've always heard from over in Europe is it's not only some nice, beautiful scenery over there, but in terms of the style of hockey, a lot bigger ice, of course, a lot more emphasis on being solid away from the puck defensively. Did you find that was something that you had to incorporate, that many players over there in Europe, like it's nice to have the skill, nice to have the shooting ability, the release, the vision on the ice to make good passes and be that on have that offensive creativity and have that side of that in your toolbox. But you've got to be good away from the puck, especially if you're going to thrive playing over there. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think especially you don't have a lot of spots on the team where players can be all offensive. Like you can't have like in Europe, I don't think you can have two Eric Carlsons on the team. Almost, it's mostly you have one at maximum
You need a
because
counterbalance to that high risk, plenty of turnover hockey. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So I think it's right. I've seen a lot of NHL and AHL games, so there's a lot of more like high scoring chances in those games than it's in Europe. It's a more tight game and more, I think, more strategic. Almost you waiting for the opponents to make a mistake, and you're not making a lot of mistakes. So it's often low scoring games. You can see if you bet on European games, the goal line is much lower than in the NHL. In the SHL, you get a goal line of 4.5 on a lot of games.
No doubt, no doubt. So, how many years did you play before you had hung up the skates? It was about 5 or 6 from the looks of things. Was it that long?
How long ago I retired?
Professional, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I played 10 years professionally.
Oh, 10 years. Okay.
Yeah. So this is my second year not playing.
And tell me how you got into NHL betting. Obviously because that's how we came across it and figured out, hey, this guy might not only do you play the sport, he knows the game obviously because you played it up at a high level. You played professionally for many, many years, but you got into the betting side of things, especially when it comes to NHL. How did that start for you? And I assume in Europe, and that's what I've heard too. North America only finally got with the times a couple of years ago, where there was this big boom for sports betting, in the mainstream just a couple of years ago here. But for Europe, they were way ahead of the times. I think it's been, people get involved in sports wagering over there for years, if not decades, right?
Yeah, I think it's like almost a culture in the locker room. You start like you betting on a lot of soccer games. The football, that's the biggest market, but you also can bet on the hockey games as well. Especially NHL is like pretty fun because it's so high variance, or what do you call it. You never know who's gonna beat each other at the start of the season. Like now at the end, it's a little bit easier to pick a winner, but you never know, like in October, November, who's gonna win those games.
Yeah, it's a long season, the NHL. I have ups and downs. This season's been a wildly up and down season. I'm profitable, but I've had years where I've just absolutely crushed it when it comes to the NHL. Just huge profitable winning seasons. This year's been more of a grind, and especially since the All-Star break, I've had a downturn. And it's been a lot more tricky. Last night, we'll get to last night's recap in a moment, but last night was a very good night, actually. Overall, things went pretty well with sides, totals, and some of the player props, that we mentioned on the show did pretty well. I do want to ask, though, a couple things, though, before we turn our attention to last night's games and then tonight's games, too, about a couple things about the way things are going with Sweden and sports. I know soccer's huge there, but right now your country is better at hockey. There's no question about that. They're better at hockey than they are soccer. So is hockey number one there? It better be.
I think soccer is the most athletes that are playing, but hockey is definitely up there in popularity. You can see every year in the SHL, the highest division, the numbers are going up for attendance. So it's good to see, and of course you have the World Cup in hockey is every year, and it's almost every time in Europe. So it's easy for us to watch those games. And
the World Hockey Championship. That's what you meant. Yeah, the World Hockey Championship. Yeah, that's in May. Yeah, and they treat it a lot more with more. They love it more than even in North America, because North America is still, the Stanley Cup playoffs are going on. It's the one thing about it, you don't always get the best players from each country because there's still the NHL playoffs going on. But no, over in Europe, it's a big deal. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty. It's easiest for us to watch it with the time, and you can see some of the players from NHL. So I think a lot of people here appreciate the World Championship. And you can also travel pretty easy in Europe to all the countries and watch the games. So I've been to one World Championship where my brother played, and Sweden won the gold in Denmark. And this year I'm also going to the Czech Republic to watch a couple of games with some friends.
And speaking of Jacob, of course, many of you and many people watching the show will remember Jacob. He spent couple of seasons with the Canadiens. He was with the Red Wings for a couple of years, the Blues organization for a couple of years. He's playing back now well, he was, I think, in Färjestad, right, in Sweden. I think he's moved on since then, right?
Yeah, I played 1 year in Färjestad and won the Swedish championship with them. And now he's on his second year in Switzerland, Fribourg.
Yep.
And he also extended his contract there, so he will be there for a couple of years.
Absolutely. So he's been playing in Europe probably for 2 or 3 seasons now. Yeah, third season there.
Yeah.
You are a very good brother, by the way, because I keep hearing you watch his games on television. You try to, attend some games. Didn't you say to me you attended a game over here once when he was playing over here? You actually were in attendance for a couple of his NHL games. Like, that's a good brother. You got his back.
Yeah, I traveled to Montreal 2 times. I actually watched his second or third game with the Canadiens because we had a little break. So from my team, because it was a national break, like you play with the national team a couple of games every season. So then the clubs get some days off. So I traveled with a friend and we watched his third or second game against New Jersey at the Bell Center. And then after my season was done, they went to the playoffs, and I watched when they beat Ottawa in the first round. I was there in Ottawa. I took his car and drove there from Montreal, and we watched the 2 first games in Bell Center against Tampa Bay that year. They lost both in overtime.
Yeah, I know, tough. But I'll tell you what, if of all the buildings in the NHL for you to make your presence felt, Eric, the Bell Center has got to be near the top of the list. That building is a great environment. They're always into the game. It's one of the loudest buildings in the NHL, especially when the Montreal Canadiens are really, really good. Obviously, they've had some tough times. They've had some lean years the last couple, but there's no doubt that is one of the good buildings. That building in the Chicago, Boston, those are some of the better buildings you could go to for sure. Minnesota, even where Terry Edelman's team resides, even that's a pretty good environment. So there's a bunch of good environments, but Montreal is always to me at the top of the list. So it was a nice spot for you to be there to attend a live NHL game. I know earlier this season, Sweden, the NHL obviously brought its presence to Sweden with the Global Series. The Leafs were there. The Minnesota Wild were there. The Ottawa Senators were there. The Detroit Red Wings were there. Those 4 teams, they played a series of games in Sweden. How was that? It seems like it was well received. People were into it. The building was packed. I love that they brought out Lundqvist and they brought out Matt Sundin and they brought out those Swedish legends at the games there. Daniel Alfredsson, of course, is actually on the Ottawa coaching staff right now. Yeah, it was really cool. It was a very nice touch. How did that whole global series go down? It looks like it was a smashing success there in Stockholm.
Yeah, I think it was a huge success. It was sold out every game, and a lot of people appreciate to see the NHL stars close up and also get a look at them outside the arena. And to see, so because the time difference, it's not that easy for especially young kids to watch their favorite players play. So there was a lot of families and younger kids that can watch their first NHL game. So it was very well received.
Absolutely, it certainly was. Well, it's good to have you, and we're looking forward to breaking some NHL games down right now for tomorrow. But first, we'll look back on last night. I actually before we get into the recap of last night, is there a certain type of bet you prefer? Do you like sides or money lines, or do you like totals, or do you like player props? Is there something you like more? Is there something you do better with? How do you go about it as far as your NHL betting day to day?
Usually I play the money line because a lot of games are so tight. So that's what I usually go with, and also some totals. I'm a big under guy. Actually, I play a lot of
We
under.
need an under guy. None of us are. I'm not an under guy.
Yeah,
Matty
I've noticed
Robinson's
that
not an under guy.
when I
Alex is
watch
not an
the
under
show.
guy anymore. Actually, we need someone that says, "Hey," puts up the stop sign and says, "Hey, fuck you guys. This game's going under the total here. Enough of this over bullshit. Get it out of here. Give me the under." We need some of that on this show. So I think you're a good fit in that regard. Yeah.
Maybe because I'm a defenseman, I have faith in the in the defense. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have a couple of games today. I think we'll go under, so we'll get to them.
All right. But then again, I will recommend an under. I just won't bet an under and the reason for that, I've said this before many times, Eric, is my track record sucks with unders. I bet an under and it's going over. So it's partially I don't love betting them, and second of all, I haven't done well with them. So that's why I really and that's not just hockey anymore. That's football, basketball, baseball. That's a lot of other sports as well. I do want to point out a couple comments here. Russell Deck saying Trotter's harness is big in Sweden. He says also, I think that's true. And he says, I want to go, know Sweden's go-to signature food. Well, everyone says the meatballs, but that's the easy, that's the obvious answer. But there's got to be more to it than that. And I know the Swedish meatballs is one of the number one foods there, but there's got to be more to Sweden food than that.
Yeah, it's more, but I think that is the signature food, like mash and meatballs with like a creamy sauce and the lingonberry and some pickled cucumber to it. That is like the signature dish.
There you go. Yep. So that's I knew. Look. I've not even been to Sweden, but of course we've had a lot of people that have been either played in Sweden or in the past that are there. So yeah, Malmo, Sweden, underrated. There's Matt. He's in the chat. He's on his way onto the show in just a few moments. But yeah, he says Malmo, Sweden, underrated. And Jeff Stone, what position does he and brother play? Eric's a defenseman. And that's why he likes those unders. Jacob Delarose, his brother, is a center for the most part. Yeah.
Also play on the wing couple of times, but mostly playing center
if needed. Yeah, can play the wing if needed. Good stuff. Good to have you. Let's get into the last night's games first briefly. One game that did not go well for me last night was the LA Kings and the St. Louis Blues. I did take LA first period money line, sprinkled a little on the Kings money line and a little bit on the draw. Nothing hit there. Very disappointing from the LA Kings. And it's kind of the performance why you have a hard time buying into this team. Like they have one of their most complete performances of recent memory against the Islanders. They shut out the New York Islanders the other night. It was a great performance. And then they start this very big road trip against St. Louis, who have been kind of up and down the last week or so. And they lose 3-1 yesterday to the St. Louis Blues. So just too much inconsistency with the LA Kings. And sometimes that offense, you need it to come through, and it just does not. And we saw that again last night in the loss to the St. Louis Blues. The Winnipeg Jets, well, they were called out by Rick Bowness Saturday after a 5-0 loss to Vancouver. They responded, shutting out Washington on Monday, but a step backward for them last night, losing to the red-hot Nashville Predators. That's now a 13-game point streak for the Predators. 11 wins and then 2 overtime or shootout losses. They have not lost in regulation time in 13 straight games. They beat Winnipeg 4-2. There is an illness running through the Jets. Mark Scheifele was a late scratch last night, but that's no excuse. I mean, you've still got to find a way to play a little bit better than they did. They could not. UC Saros was very good in net for Nashville. Philip Forsberg scores again, continues to just be outstanding. That whole line, Gus Nyquist with Philip Forsberg and with Ryan O'Reilly, has been outstanding for the Nashville Predators during this run. A nice 4-2 win. That was a sweep for me in that game. I had Nashville money line. I had the team total over 2.5. We couldn't believe on the show yesterday the Nashville team total was only 2.5 there. They had scored 3 goals or more, I believe, in 9 of the last 10 games. And, of course, they get to 4 last night. They get the victory. But I also had over 5.5, Eric. And, man, right at the nick of time there with 10 seconds left. The Winnipeg Jets score to make it 4-2. Game goes over the total. And that was my best bet on the show yesterday. So we'll take it. The 3-0 sweep. It was close, but we get there with Nashville money line, team total over 3.5, and the full game over. A domination by the Edmonton Oilers. They pound the Washington Capitals 7-2. A 4-point night for McDavid. Zach Hyman again scores. Draisaitl, the big guns had a huge game. They exploded offensively on Washington. Darcy Kemper, struggles continue, and just a dominant performance by the Oilers there, 7-2 over the Capitals. And that kid from Russia, that's that prospect, he scored, and I mentioned he's been worth a shot with the goal props. Ivan Miroshnichenko for Washington. He scored one of their 2 goals last night. It's plus 700 he was to score a goal. So did have a piece of that. And I had a piece of Toropchenko, plus 600 in the St. Louis game, who I mentioned, even though he's on the 4th line, this guy has scored like 3 or 4 goals in the last 6 games. So Alexei Toropchenko as well for St. Louis is someone you want to keep an eye on. And then the game of the night was probably Colorado-Vancouver. If you're the Canucks, you're sick to your stomach that you lost this game. You played a brilliant first 2 periods. You were the better team. You outplayed Colorado. Everything was going your way. You're up 3-0. They only had 10 shots on goal halfway through the game. But that goal they gave up with a second left in the period, and Colorado made it 3-1. I just had a feeling, you've given this Colorado team some life. You've given them an inch, and they're going to take a mile. And next thing you know, third period, Vancouver gets in penalty trouble. Colorado ties the game 3-3, and then they win it in overtime on a power play. Carson Soucy delay a game late in the third period, and you can't give Colorado, a team with that much skill and potency offensively, a 4-on-3 power play, and Colorado wins it in overtime. Just a tough loss for Vancouver, because I think if you go back in time, Eric, and they get out of that second period still up 3-0, and they don't give up that goal to Colorado in the last seconds of the second period, they probably win that game. But they gave up that goal. They opened the door to Colorado, and Colorado just walked on through. Tough loss for Vancouver, and a great comeback on a back-to-back on the road as well for the Colorado Avalanche last night in that game. And I know Alex had live draw and live Avs at plus 850 when they were down 3-1 to come back and win. And they ended up getting the job done there. Eric, as someone that's played, you know that very well, right? And I'm sure the coaches told you the goal that you allow in the last minute of a period could be just a devastating goal to give up. It's just a no-no. It's something you just do not want to do. Give up a goal to your opponent in the final minute of a period, especially in the second period, like last night with Vancouver when they have a 3-0 lead. But they gave up that goal, and it just gave Colorado life, and they end up coming all the way back.
Yeah, it's like those shifts, the last shifts of the period, the shift after a goal, all those shifts are like pretty crucial to a game's momentum, how it's going to swing. So I think the coaches maybe going to reconsider who they put on the ice next time for the last shift of the second period when they were up.
Yeah, I mean, if for Rick Tocchet, it's just, make better decisions with the puck. He was talking about that, and they got into penalty trouble, which was an issue when they were struggling about a couple of weeks ago. Penalties were a big problem. They were taking way too many penalties in those losses. But Rick Tocchet said we got to get our discipline back, and for a while they did. But last night they took a couple of penalties. They gave Colorado a 5-on-3, and like you said, when you give Colorado that kind of an opportunity, they're usually going to take advantage of it. So a tough loss for Colorado, for Vancouver. But I think when you look at that game last night, there's still a lot of positives. They didn't have Demko. They were totally in control for 2 periods. They've got to look at that part of it. They're going to be upset they lost, but they played a heck of a game for 2 periods against Colorado, and they showed they could go toe-to-toe with them. I don't think everything is, it's not the end of the world losing that game if you're the Vancouver Canucks, because I thought for 2 periods they played very well, but it's also a lesson. You got to close out the game. You've got to be very, very strong in your details. You can't get into penalty trouble. You can't give up a goal that late in the period. And those are the things that could hurt you come Stanley Cup playoff time. So I still thought for Vancouver, there's a lot of positives still from that game, even though they lost 4-3 in overtime last night. All right, let's get into the Thursday card because it is a big one. We've got 13 games littering this Thursday night NHL card. Actually, 12. It's 12 games on the slate tonight. We will begin in Detroit, which is one of the former teams of Jacob Delarose, Eric's brother. Arizona Coyotes, Detroit Red Wings. We've got Detroit minus 150, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. This is an interesting game to talk about. Lots to consider here. The first thing being Detroit is in free fall. They're not playing well at all at the moment. They're on this losing streak, which, by the way, coincides with the absence of their captain, Dylan Larkin, who they badly miss right now. He is such a big piece of this team, leadership, strong two-way play at both ends of the ice, face-offs. There's just so much, and of course, the offensive component that he delivers, and you're just missing that right now without Dylan Larkin. And they haven't won actually since he suffered that injury. And you look at the way things are spiraling downhill for Detroit. They enter this game on a 6-game losing streak, including a loss in all 4 games of the road trip that they just completed: Colorado, Arizona, Vegas, and then the 7-3 beatdown the other night at the hands of the Buffalo Sabres. So it has been a rough stretch for the Detroit Red Wings. And now it's also the Malinsky special in play here, where they're returning home off this 4-game road trip to take on this Arizona Coyotes team. We'll see how this one plays out. And another thing to keep in mind is these two teams just played 6 days ago, last Friday night in Arizona. I thought it was a good spot for Detroit that night after getting shellacked by Colorado, and they were terrible to start that game. They ended up losing 4-0 in the desert to the Arizona Coyotes. And then, of course, things didn't get any better. They lost in Vegas the next night, and they get pummeled by Buffalo after that. And if you actually look at the series history, if Arizona has really been a problem for Detroit. 5-1 in the last, actually 6-1 in the last 7 meetings between these two teams. And they've actually won a couple of games in Detroit as well between these two teams. So this one's tricky, though, because, look, everybody knows the Lucas Raymond, Ben Sherratt fighting in the practice yesterday. They got into it. The coaches and the officials had to separate. The coaches had to separate the two guys during the practice. Some people will say, "Oh, this team's falling apart." It's actually from a mental thing, from a team camaraderie perspective. It actually could be like a wake-up call, like a flip the switch moment. Like, hey, we're pissed off. We're really angry. We hate this. This shit sucks that we've lost 6 in a row. We're playing this bad. Let's go. It's like almost something to shake up the room, shake up the team. When you have this little internal squabble, almost fight between two teammates, like with what we saw yesterday with Raymond and Sherratt. So does it spark Detroit? We'll see. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw. To me, the price just isn't good enough, though, with Arizona. To me, I lean Arizona, but plus 130 now. And they've been betting Arizona, too, by the way, because this line opened at Detroit minus 180, and it's all the way down to Detroit minus 150. So there's been a lot of money. To me, I don't love the value here with Arizona. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw tonight, though, in this game because of the history we've seen. We've seen 2 of the last 3 meetings go to overtime or a shootout, including the most recent game in Detroit, which was a 4-3 shootout win for the Red Wings. And I think I'm going to go over trifecta here in this game. Now, I was on this against with Detroit and Arizona the other night, but I think I'm going to go back to it here. The one thing about Arizona is this is still a team that's given up goals. 4-1 loss to Minnesota, 7-4 loss to Chicago since they beat Detroit last Friday. Connor Ingram hasn't played as well post All-Star break. The whole team defense for Arizona has not played well. And we know Detroit's team defense has not played well during this 6-game losing streak. And Eric, we talked about this with Alex Lyon, who's going to be the goaltender tonight for Detroit. He is struggling, and he got pulled the other night against Buffalo. His numbers are awful the last several games. Lyon bounce back? I don't know, Alan, because the reason why I'm worried about maybe he doesn't bounce back, he has played his most games by far in a single season in the NHL. This is a workload that for a goaltender, you're not accustomed to it, especially at this level. the highest level, it can be an issue. And you don't play as well. I think he's kind of hit a physical wall a little bit, Alex Lyon, where he's just, you play this number of games, you're not accustomed to it, especially at the NHL level, and he's struggling, I think, and he's buckling physically under the workload that he's had to go through because Ville Husso's out all this time, and they got to roll with this guy, and they don't have enough faith in James Reimer, the backup, to make it an even 50-50 split in net. So they got to run Lyon out there every night, and I think they're running him into the ice, running him into the ground, and I think because of all the workload, he's not playing anywhere close to what he did before. So I'm going to sprinkle on the draw, and I'm going to go with the over trifecta in this game. And Eric, what that is over 1.5 first period, over both teams to score in the first period, which is like plus 160, and also over 6.5 for the full game. Eric, here you go. The first game up, Arizona, Detroit.
Yeah, like you said, it's a tough one to pick a side here. I'm leaning a little bit Arizona because of the price you get. I think it's not a good price for Red Wings at this moment. But on if we're gonna talk Red Wings, I think today's game is gonna be a big decider how the rest of their season's gonna go. They really need to win this game if they're gonna make the playoffs, I think, because if they lose to Arizona here second time in a week, I think the morale will go down even worse than it is right now for that team. But I agree on you that it should not be any negative that they fought yesterday on the practice. That's just guys being pissed off because they lost 6 games in a row. And like Sherrod and
that doesn't always
Raymond.
kill the team, right? An incident that doesn't always hurt the team. Sometimes it actually galvanizes them, right?
Yeah. I don't think they will hurt them at all. Maybe if the game turns out the first period they're down 2-3-0, then it can be ugly in that dressing room in the first period in the first intermission. I'm more looking at the total here, going for the goals, because both goalies are not that hot at the moment, and maybe a little bit live betting on the side here on which team's gonna win it. But if I'm gonna pick a side before the game, I'm leaning Arizona, but I'm probably gonna pass on this game. But if you look at some players that can score a goal or score some points, I think you can look at some Arizona guys like Nick Bjugstad is first line center now. Logan Cooley is looking good pretty much every game, and they have a pretty good their first power play is pretty good with Schmaltz and Keller. So for sure you can look at some props on Arizona, I think.
You've been you've either been listening to this show or you've got the same sharp mind that I have, Eric. That's well done, because I've talked about Logan Cooley, I've talked about Dylan Gunther, I've talked, and even Nick Bjugstad. You're right, as Don Cherry says, Nick Ballstead. He has really picked his game up of late as well, and has been chipping in offensively. So all of those props, I actually like them. I think they're all just small sprinkles on goal prop or assist prop, point prop. Those kind of things, I think, definitely could be worth a look here in this game tonight for Arizona. And better late than never. Look who's here. It's our guy, Matt Robinson, wearing that Arkansas shirt. The Arkansas basketball team is taking the court a little later this afternoon in the SEC tournament. I know he'll be cheering them on. But Matt, good to have you here. What do you think here, Arizona, Detroit?
Yeah, sorry for my tardiness, but better late than never, and excited to be on here with the boys. As I mentioned, I was listening in as I was driving down, so I caught the intro and things like that. So up to speed, and like you mentioned when we were texting before the show, jumped on right in time for that first game on the card. So as far as this game goes, I mean, just because it's the Coyotes, I figured Detroit has to have a bounce back game at some point. They're still not out of the playoffs, but obviously they're slumping. I like the over here. I think I lean Detroit. I don't know if I'm ready to lay minus 150 on them yet. But they are back at home. I know they've been on the 4-game road trip, as you mentioned, the Malinsky special. So bet, Coyotes money line first period if you want. But no, I think Detroit wins this game. I don't know, if it's going to be a lopsided game or maybe a 4-3 overtime win. So I think I like the over here. The first period over is a good look as well. But it is, laying minus 160, minus 165. So as far as pregame plays, I'll probably just be on the over in this game. Don't really think I'll be on either side. And then know you guys were mentioning props. I feel like Kane's been so invisible that, one of these games he's going to come back and have a 2 or 3 point game. So it's always worth the look. Maybe Patrick Kane 2 or more points. But I love the Logan Cooley plus money on just a point. So I'll definitely be on that as well.
And keep in mind, JT Compher, Newsy Lalonde has put him back on the top line with Raymond, and actually he's put him with Raymond and Perron. He's going to put Kane with Rasmussen. He's shaking things up here. He's separating Kane and DeBrincat, essentially. And DeBrincat's going to play with Kopp and Fabry. So there's a huge lineup shuffle here tonight for Derek Lalonde to try to get things going here for the Detroit Red Wings. So we'll see if it pays off. This team's in a world of hurt right now, and we'll see if they can bounce out of it tonight against Arizona. All right, Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens, Original Six rivalry renewed tonight in La Belle Province, the Bell Center. Boston minus 220 road favorites in this game, 6 the total. By the way, Jimmy Murphy, our good friend, he is there, obviously covering the game, but he's also doing a live remote show from Hurley's Irish Pub in Montreal for the eye test. Him and Pierre Maguire, they're doing their show live from Hurley's Pub in Montreal. So I might check that out later on YouTube, but that'll be fun. I hope they have a good time. Hopefully they make it out of there not too drunk after that. But no, it's Jimmy Murphy, an Irishman in Montreal at an Irish pub. It's fair to assume that, hey, drinks might be consumed during that eye test podcast. But I hope they have fun. Him and Pierre Maguire there in Montreal doing their show live from Hurley's Irish Pub. As far as this game goes, look, Boston's off a stinker against St. Louis. Did not play well. In fact, they didn't play well against Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's so bad right now, it didn't matter. They still won. But they got away with a bad performance against Pittsburgh. They didn't get away with it against St. Louis. At least St. Louis is a team that is at least somewhat capable, of making you pay for a bad performance. And I think we definitely saw that the other night, losing 5-1 to the Blues. Probably is a nice little bounce back spot here for the Bruins. They have dominated Montreal, by the way, 9-1 in the last 10 meetings. Montreal did get their only win did come here at Bell Center back in November, 3-2 in overtime. But aside from that, Boston's had no problem winning anywhere against Montreal. They've just dominated the majority of this series history of late. They're coming off that bad performance again against St. Louis. Montreal's coming off a shutout against Columbus where Caden Primo was absolutely outstanding, and yet Sam Montembeault is going to be in net here. Linus Ullmark for Boston. There are some injuries for Boston. Grzelcyk on defense is out. James Van Riemsdyk is out as well for the Bruins. We'll see if they can cope, though, and through those injuries and look to be better here tonight. I'm on the Bruins puck line in the first period, -0.5, plus 142 in this game. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit here on full game puck line and a little bit on the team total over 3.5 on Boston, -102. So, I think it's in this spot. Good bounce back spot. Montreal is still a rival, long time for Boston. Chance to bounce back here on the road. I think they can do that in this game. The domination that they've had over the Montreal Canadiens. The next game's against Philadelphia, by the way, so it's not the biggest look-ahead situation by any stretch of the imagination. And if you remember the last couple of times we've seen the Boston Bruins off a pretty bad game, I remember that Islander game. They were really bad, probably about as bad as they were against St. Louis the other night. They bounced back against Toronto, playing very well at the time, and they won that game 4-1. So first period puck line, I like a little bit on the full game puck line, and I do like that team total. You're getting it over 3.5 at pretty much even money, -102 here on the Bruins in this game. Matt, what do you think here, Boston, Montreal? Up, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, this is one game that I bet on pre-show, I actually got in the over at 5.5. I love it in that spot. Still like it at 6, but obviously if you can find it at 5.5, always favorable in case it's a 4-2 type game. I'm also jumping on the first period over, just given Boston's last game. I feel like they're going to come out strong. They might score 2 on their own. If Montreal chips in 1, that hits either way. So got a sprinkle on that as well. And then you've kind of talked me into the Bruins team total over at 3.5. I didn't realize that it was almost even money. So I'll also be jumping on that. Obviously lean Bruins here, but not going to lay 220 on it, on the road. So those will probably be the only 3 plays pregame, and then we'll see what happens live.
1 and 10. I had to go back and look because I knew it was bad, and it was Montreal off a win. What was Montreal's track record in their recent results after a victory? Montreal in their last 11 games after a win, and of course they beat Columbus in their last game. After a win, Montreal is 1 and 10. 1 and 10 in their last 11 games after a win. That's pretty bad. That's why I have no faith in them, keeping it going after that Columbus game. And let's be honest, they only won that game because Primo was terrific. I mean, Columbus had 40 shots on goal the other night against Montreal, but Primo was absolutely outstanding. So, it's not only a team that can't put 2 wins in a row together, but it's a Boston team coming off a shit game. So I think it's a perfect storm here. What do you think in this one, Eric? Boston, Montreal.
Yeah, I'm also looking at the first period over and the team over for Boston. I don't really know the reason why they put Montembeault back in net, because Primo won them the game last night when they played against the Jackets. And it's not like he should be fatigued or anything, because pretty much, I see Montembeault played 31 games. I'm not sure Primo has that many, but really weird decision by St. Louis. And like you said, the Bruins have had Montreal's numbers every game almost for 2 years. I feel like. So leaning Boston, but I'm not going to play the money line for that price, because I think Boston also has been a little bit shaky, especially defensively, letting in a lot of goals. So like play for the goal lines here, like the overs is my bet.
All right, and especially you're liking first period over, and that's a pretty good price with that. First period over 1.5 minus 115. I think I might take a little shot on that too. And I know Alex likes first period over. Yeah, I know he's not on the show today, but I know he mentioned that he likes the first period, and you like the team total as well with Boston over 3.5 here, which is around plus 100 minus 105 in this game. I'm going to stick to the same props that I've talked about: DeBrusk and Pavel Zacha and Morgan Geekie. They've all been very good for the Bruins lately. I'll throw out a couple Montreal props. Slavkovsky and Alex Newhook's been a little bit noted, and Josh Waugh. Anybody on that line, like Josh Waugh has been very good. Newhook's been a point producer, and he has a goal, and he scored against Toronto. And Josh Waugh, man, keep looking at props for this guy. He is making it happen right now for the Montreal Canadiens. So some good props as well in that game. And again, with Joshua Waugh, who scored in multiple games recently, you can still get like plus 400, for him to score a goal tonight. So you're still getting terrific value on his goal props in this game tonight. All right, San Jose Sharks, Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, what a stink bomb of a game this could end up being. But we talk every game on this show, good, bad, or indifferent. Pittsburgh minus 320, home favorites, 6 the total. There's actually an angle I like here in this game that I think when you look at it, here's how I see it right now with this matchup. Both these teams suck. Your first thought, my first thought was pass. How can you do anything with this hockey game right now? But I look at this situation and I see San Jose. Okay, they beat Ottawa at home in the last game of the homestand. They battled Philadelphia tough, like 3-2. I mean, they made that game difficult. They made that life difficult on the Philadelphia Flyers in that game. Now they play a Pittsburgh team that is just, they couldn't even beat Ottawa. coming off a long road trip at home. They couldn't even beat Ottawa in that game to snap their losing streak. It's just absolutely a disaster right now for Pittsburgh. It's 4 straight losses. It's 1-7 in their last 8 games. The only victory was a home win against Columbus with Jet Greaves, a minor league goalie, starting that night for Columbus in net. San Jose to me is live here. And there's another element to this handicap that I think you have to mention. You know, the media will mention it to the Sharks. They don't have to be reminded about it, but I'm sure they will be reminded about it. They got beaten by the Pittsburgh Penguins at home on November the 4th, 10-2. 10-2 Pittsburgh. If there's one game the San Jose Sharks will treat like a Stanley Cup final, it'll be tonight. And I remember San Jose lost by a similar margin at home to Vancouver earlier this season as well. The next time they played Vancouver, do you know what happened? They beat Vancouver. All right. So there is something to it where you playing a team that just absolutely embarrassed you the last time, 10-2. And I think San Jose brings it tonight. That combined with Pittsburgh cannot be fucking laying minus 320 to a peewee hockey team right now, let alone the San Jose Sharks, is good enough for me. San Jose, plus 260, a little bit on the draw. Give me that San Jose team total over 2.5 as well in this game. And give me a smaller stance on the over trifecta as well in this one. So I've actually got, I got to count it up here, make sure. Yeah, I got 6 bets on this game. 6. So this is sick. Maybe I'm sick in the head for doing this, but I've got 6 bets on this game. I've got San Jose money line plus 260, plus 270. We've got a little piece of the draw as well. We have San Jose team total, which is a very cheap team total, by the way, in this game for the Sharks. Sharks team total, you can find it right now at around plus 128 at Pinnacle with the Sharks team total over 2.5. They just need to get 3 goals. And then I'm also going to be on the over trifecta in this game with over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period, and over 6 with this Sharks and Penguins game with Krona in net for the Sharks, who actually has been good, bad, good, bad. That's been his pattern. I guess you could say it was bad against Philly, but he wasn't that bad. He only gave up 3 goals. He actually held the team in the game. And Tristan Jarry for Pittsburgh, but not only is Tristan Jarry struggling, the team is a nightmare defensively in front of him. So I don't know if this is as big of a defense and goaltending edge for Pittsburgh as you might think. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going in here with San Jose in multiple forms and a little bit on these over trifectas as well. Matt, what do you think here? Sharks, Penguins, game of the night. Just kidding.
Yeah, this will definitely be on the big screen. No. I obviously, on these lopsided values, I always kind of go back and forth. I do love San Jose team total over 2.5. Pittsburgh's given up 3 or more in 8 of their last 10 games. I think the Sharks are kind of at that point. We mentioned this during that 2 games back to back against Dallas. Like, they don't really have anything to lose, so they're playing a little more loose. And sometimes goals happen more frequently that way. They don't give a shit if they give up a 3-on-2 the other way. They're going to try and score. So could definitely see that. I probably will sprinkle on San Jose after, you sold me on them. Given that it's plus 260, why not throw a couple bucks on it? But yeah, as far as that, as far as totals go, I was just on the first period over initially. This might be a game. I'm seeing it at 6 and 6.5. This might be a game that I'd try and jump on live if the first 4 or 5 minutes go by and there's no goals. So as far as pregame, I'll sprinkle a little on San Jose. I'll ride them with you. I'm definitely on the team total, and then that first period over, and then hopefully we can get in live at a 5.5 or a good value 6.
And guess who won in Pittsburgh last year when the one game in Pittsburgh with these 2 teams in Pittsburgh? Guess who won? San Jose did, 6-4, and they were like a plus 210 underdog in that game. And they ended up winning that game in Pittsburgh last year. The Sharks beating the Penguins 6-4. I think it's got a chance to happen again here tonight. Eric, what do you think here? Sharks, Penguins.
I think it's 2 terrible teams that are going to play each other. But I'm looking at like the Sharks lineup now when Duclair is gone. I don't really know who's going to score on that team, and they haven't scored a lot of goals lately. Also, Penguins haven't scored. They have 2 goals in their last 4 games. But I can see like it can be a game that can be a lot of goals this as well, because it's going to be a sloppy game probably with 2 goalies that are very unstable. I think Corona is not the NHL goalie yet, and he's been playing 2 games in a row now. It's his 3rd game in a row, so I can see like you said there, Matt, with the over in the first period. I think that is a good bet, and I'm also looking at Bunting and Rust to score a goal. I think Sid is gonna give them a good chance to score this game, because he's probably more pissed than anybody on that team.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby can't be faulted for anything that is going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. He's done everything in his power for this team. Just doesn't have a whole lot of help. Bunting, of course, scored the tying goal, the only goal of the game for Pittsburgh against Ottawa the other night, and he's up there on the top line. So it's probably, if you're going to look at anybody on the Penguins, Bunting or Rust for that matter, could be the players you target for goal props in this game. For San Jose, Barabanov is back in the lineup and on the top line with Granlund and Zetterlund. Zadina has been stepping up lately. I've noticed his name. Eklund, Will Eklund, Zadina, Barabanov are probably the favorite player props for me on the San Jose side. I mean, Zadina had 2 goals of both goals they scored against Philly the other night. So there'll be some props I'd be looking at on the San Jose Sharks side of the equation here for this game tonight. All right, we move along now to the Ottawa Senators and the Columbus Blue Jackets. 2 more teams playing for exercise here tonight on this slate. So we've got Ottawa, certainly massive, or Ottawa decent sized favorite here, -125 road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Senators got their win against the Pittsburgh Penguins the other night. Columbus gets shut out by Montreal 3-0, and it looks like, what the hell happened to Columbus? What a terrible performance. Well, they weren't that bad. They were just stonewalled by Caden Primo, who was absolutely terrific in that game the other night. So now you've got Columbus back home. Again, you got erratic teams here, both sides. It looks like, as far as goaltending, Forsberg, Merzlikins confirmed in net. Injuries are mounting again for both teams. Josh Norris, of course, out for the season. Thomas Chabot's day-to-day for Ottawa. And then on the Columbus side, you've got Shinikov, Danforth out for them. Fantilli out for them. Sean Corrali, Kent Johnson as well. So there's definitely injuries for Columbus as well coming into this game. But, Columbus has been at their best at home lately. Not a strong opinion, but I did jump in a little bit on Columbus here as a home dog. I mean, really, we're going to lay a price on the road with Ottawa? I mean, these are 2 teams that are struggling, but especially for Ottawa, 8 wins on the road this year, 8-21 on the road, and they're a road favorite. Not in my book. In fact, I had Columbus a small home favorite in this game, not a home underdog. So, yeah, for me, a little Columbus +105. Columbus has played their better hockey at home as well. They took Nashville down to the wire and lost 2-1. They beat Edmonton at home. They beat Vegas at home. They played Carolina very tough at home. A lot of their best performances lately have been here at Nationwide Arena. So I'm going to look at Columbus +105. And I'll jump in on a small over trifecta here. I don't like this one as much as some of the others. Matt, what do you think here? Senators, Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I would lean Columbus here. I don't know if I'm going to jump on it, but I am on the over bifecta. Again, with these 2 teams being the way they are, on the off chance it's a 2-0 first, I want to, make sure I hit my first period over and not do the both teams to score, because I don't know what team's going to show up either way. Columbus has shown signs of life and then played, really flat games as of recent. So, and Ottawa has had 0 consistency, especially since the All-Star break. So yeah, I'll just be on the first period over and the game over in this one. I lean Columbus, but I just don't think I'll, lay anything on them.
All right, nothing wrong with that. Like I say, these are ugly games. These last 2 that we have talked about, 4 teams that are completely out of the mix. But like I said, based on my power ratings, Columbus should be minus 115 or minus 120 here. Not Ottawa minus 125 on the road. Again, an Ottawa team that's 8-21 on the road this year. At least Columbus has 12 home wins. More home wins than Ottawa has road wins this year. So I thought there was some value on Columbus. Again, this is a very high variance game. Nothing would surprise me. Ottawa winning actually wouldn't surprise me, but I think Columbus has been good enough at home, and Ottawa's feeble enough to take a shot here with the Jackets. Eric, what do you think here? Sens Jackets.
I think, like you said, I think the odds is flipped here. I think Jackets should be the favorites in their home arena against the Senators. It's been looking really dead lately. I think I watched the game against, I think it was Anaheim, because I thought that was maybe going to be a little bit of a goal fest or just two teams that aren't playing for anything. But that game was one of the worst games I ever seen in the NHL. Nothing happened, no energy from the Sens. So I'm going to play the Blue Jackets money line on this game, just because I think it's a good value bet.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Columbus, at least whether they win or lose. And like I say, these two teams can be flighty, erratic, inconsistent. Anything here that might happen wouldn't surprise me. But I think with where this price is, there's value definitely on the Columbus side of the equation. All right, we go from two bad games. We're due. We deserve a good game to talk about, God damn it. I mean, we've had two terrible games here back to back. And we got maybe the game of the night now. Next up, the Florida Panthers taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, a division battle, the game of the night, one of the games I'll be watching and focusing most on. We've got Carolina minus 125 home favorites in this game. The total 5.5 shaded to the over. This definitely, to me, is a game that sets up to be lower scoring. The way it sets up, with the way these two teams are going right now. I know Florida they've actually gone 3 overs in their last 5 games, but one of them was 4-2 to the Rangers, barely got over. New Jersey, not much of a team that we can trust defensively. Calgary's defense has fallen apart. We'll get to that later. Dallas 4-3, and that game was a third period explosion. With these two teams, and don't forget what we saw the last time these two teams went head to head. It was playoff style hockey. It was tight checking. It was great team defense on both sides. And it ended up a 1-0 victory for the Carolina Hurricanes right here at PNC Arena back on February 22nd, just a few weeks ago. And it was a great hockey game, even though there was only one goal. It was tight checking. It was very low scoring. I think we could see something pretty similar to that here tonight. The under wouldn't surprise me here to see that come through in this game. But when you look at this price, and look, the one concern here for Florida, big comeback against Dallas, and they do have a couple injuries. We talked about it the other night. Evan Rodriguez and Aaron Ekblad missed the Dallas game, albeit they still won. Those are important players. And now Sam Bennett also out tonight for the Florida Panthers. So they are, dealing with a couple of key personnel losses, but you've still got the depth to withstand it. Gadjevich, the big tough guy, will come back in the lineup on the fourth line. You'll get Cousins, E2, Kuhlman, Luostarinen on the third line with Okposo, Kachuk, Lundell, Verhaeghe, second line. Tarasenko, Barkov, Reinhart stays intact on the top line. And by the way, the defense, Josh Mahura, who's taken the spot of Aaron Ekblad, is very capable. No question. So you look at this matchup here, Florida, you're going to give me this price with them on the road. Do I love this spot for them necessarily? No, I didn't love the Dallas spot for them necessarily either, and they still got the job done. But they lost to Carolina the last time, 1-0. So, and that game got rough when that game ended. After the final horn, there was a big scrum. Kachuk was involved. Kochetkov got in the mix too in that big scrum at the end of that 1-0 win for Carolina. I'm not turning down Florida at this price. Plus 105, even with the injuries. They're actually lost the most recent meeting for Carolina, so I think they show up, play a pretty good game tonight. And I'll like this even more if Anderson's in net. And it's starting to look like it could be Freddie Anderson in net. And yes, he's won his first 2 starts. Montreal, no big deal. Montreal, big deal is what I say. Who cares? And then Calgary, you only faced 20 shots in a blowout, 7-2. So he's had nice, easy opponents here in his first 2 starts. Montreal, Calgary didn't face a lot of shots. He's not going to have Kachuk and these tenacious Panthers forwards in his grill all night, jamming at his pads, getting into the goal crease, getting into his face, to score those dirty goals, because that's what Florida does. Let's see if Freddie Anderson, the old man, can step up tonight with a much tougher team to defend from a goaltending standpoint, because you got players in your face all night in the blue paint trying to jam at your pads, get loose pucks. And by the way, he does spit out rebounds sometimes, Freddie Anderson. Florida is the kind of team that can pounce on those rebounds. So at this price, with their road track record, best road team in the NHL. What's the record now? 24-10 on the road this season. You're going to give me them at plus 105. I'm not turning that down. The Florida Panthers here, plus 105 tonight. I lean under as well. I think it's a low-scoring game, but I don't bet unders. What do you think here, Matt? Florida, Carolina.
Yeah, so I mentioned it Tuesday night. If Florida's, minus 105, plus 105, I'd take them against any team. And I wasn't going to bet against Dallas as a Stars fan, but I've got to live up to what I said. So I'm definitely going to take Florida here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up between Florida money line and Florida team total, which is only 2.5. On the off chance this is like a 3-3 overtime game and Florida, loses in a shootout or something like that, you at least get that over 2.5 in your back pocket. And you kind of added to, so I had a couple thoughts on the total here. Obviously, this is a game that, could be an Eastern Conference final. You think it's going to be tight, but as Alex mentioned on Tuesday, sometimes those are the games that end up being high scoring. They get some good offense on both ends. And then the fact that you are leaning under solidifies that I really like the over, because if you like the under, it's going over. So not that I should be thinking that way, but I do think I'm not going to take the first period over, which generally if I'm taking an over, I'm taking the first period over. But I think this could be similar to Dallas's game on Tuesday against Florida, where it starts out a little slower, and then once the floodgates open, a couple power plays here and there, both teams get on the board. So those will be my 2 plays. I'll be on the over 5.5, or sorry, 3 plays, over 5.5, and then I'm going to split Panthers money line and team total. And then just being on the show, I may end up on that Stefan Nason goal prop. But again, it's looking like he's back, or still back on the 4th line, so I may stay off that unless that changes before the game. So,
all right, good stuff. Eric, how about you? One of the games of the night, Florida, Carolina.
Yeah, definitely the top game of the night. I think, like you said, I think it's going to be a playoff type of game, pretty much like we saw last time they met. And I picked Florida on the line here. For a reason, I think they look really solid. Still have 3 important guys out, but had a really good trade deadline. So the depth in that team is gonna pay off, I think, this year at this end of the season and the playoffs. So I'm picking Florida money line, and I also think if somebody can find a Gustav Forsling point or assist, you should take a look at that, because now when Ekblad is out, he's playing almost 25-26 minutes, and he has point in the last 5 games. So I haven't been able to find that prop, but if someone did do it, I think that's worth a shot. And he's not scoring that a lot of goals, so you can take the pass, the assist over 0.5.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It does, because again, who's going to fill those minutes left behind by Aaron Ekblad, who of course is out due to injury, and that would be Gus Forsling right now for Florida. And you see that he's going to get on the second power play unit now. He's going to get more opportunity there. And right now you've got him. He's on a 5-game point streak as well. He's got 7 points in the last 5 games for the Florida Panthers. So there's no question Gustav Forsling. And I know you're not just saying bet Gustav Forsling because he's Swedish. This is a really good bet here. He's been producing right now for this team. Unfortunately, you're right. I don't see assists. I don't see points being offered on him. Just a goal prop. So that's disappointing. But if it shows up for the game, it's worth a look.
Yeah, I've been looking all day on all sites, but it hasn't showed up yet. So probably gonna miss out on that. But if somebody finds it, I think it's worth a shot because it's probably pretty good price on that as well.
Yeah, definitely. That should be a good game. This one actually might be a pretty good game too. The New York Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning. We've got the Rangers minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. As far as the goaltending matchup here with these two teams, of course, for the New York Rangers, it is going to be Igor Shesterkin again. We assume Andrei Vasilevsky here for the Tampa Bay Lightning in this game. Now the Rangers, I am a little concerned for the spot here. Huge win against Carolina. Huge. You know, their third win in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, but that was an enormous win, gutting it out, back-to-back games, going on the road to Carolina, beating the Hurricanes 1-0, shutting them out, going 6 points up on Carolina for first in the Metropolitan Division in that game. I am worried about a little bit of a letdown. I am. That does bother me. That does concern me here, but I would not be on Tampa still. I need to see more from Tampa. Now, Tampa got called out by John Cooper after the Calgary loss. They just beat the brakes off Philadelphia 7-0 right after that. A big bounce back performance from them. I'm going to sprinkle on the Rangers, but I don't feel as confident on it as I normally would be. Like if you take away a huge victory type of game for the Rangers against Carolina, I'd really like the Rangers more. But because I'm concerned, it was such a big win, such a huge 2 points on the road in Carolina, 6 points up on the Hurricanes for first, that maybe they fall flat a little bit tonight. But it's not enough to keep me off the Rangers completely. I still think they're the better team. I think goaltending-wise, Shesterkin's in better form right now. No question about that. He's been awesome. I don't love the spot, but I'm going to still, at least small, going to take the Rangers here, minus 110, minus 115. I actually like the over here, over 6, simply because, look, Vasilevsky's given up 3 goals or more, I believe, in 9 of his last 10 starts. Okay, so if the Rangers get to 3 goals in this game, Tampa's going to have to score 4, and I can't lose both bets. You know, if the Rangers do what Vasilevsky's been doing, score 3 goals, and Vasilevsky's been giving up 3 or more routinely, if the Rangers get 3, I can't lose both bets. So that's why Rangers and over. I think the Rangers can get 3 because Vasi's been giving up 3 routinely. And if they get to 3 goals, not only do they have a great chance probably to win the game, but even if Tampa breaks out offensively tonight against Shesterkin and the Rangers, which is a big if, and scores 4 and wins the game, the over will cash still, and it'll go over 6. So for me, it'll be Rangers minus 115 and over 6 in this matchup. What do you think here, Matt? Rangers Lightning.
Yeah, so I've mentioned it before, but I tend to like overs in Tampa. I feel like that place gets rocking, and when they do score, they score in bunches. I feel very similar to you in the fact that I would lean Rangers here if that Carolina 1-0 win didn't happen on Tuesday. I think that was a huge win for them, you know, as far as their division and just, you know, overall confidence for the team. So I think I could see the Rangers laying an egg here. So I'm not going to jump on the Rangers. I'm on the over in the first period over. But yeah, I think that's going to be my only plays pregame. Again, I think the Rangers are the better team and they're in better form. I just think sometimes those 1-0 wins, you know, take a lot out of you because that whole game was like a third period, it felt like. So, but yeah, I think there will be some goals tonight. And that also gives me some reassurance that the Rangers were in a tight 1-0 game. So maybe they open things up a little bit tonight. Even if they do get the win, you know, they give up a couple goals here and there. So love the over, love the first period over, but that'll probably be it for me.
And they've owned Tampa lately, too, by the way, the Rangers. 4 of the last 5 head-to-head meetings, the New York Rangers have beaten the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, and again, we know this is not the same Tampa Bay team that we've seen in years past. They're still solid, but they're not that great team. They're not that upper echelon elite team that they've been in years past. And a big part of it is because their goalie's not playing at an elite level this year. Andrei Vasilevsky's been so-so. Andrei Vasilevsky entering this game, I believe his save percentage is still hovering at it's below 900. It's a 896 save percentage this year for Andrei Vasilevsky. That is unheard of for him to have his save percentage that low. Eric, what do you think here, Rangers Lightning?
I'm definitely leaning Rangers. I will trust Shesterkin to stay hot, coming off 2 shutouts. So maybe try to go for a third. So I'm actually gonna pick the under 6 here, because I think Shesterkin is gonna stay hot, and Rangers isn't that like high scoring team either. And lately, like Zibanejad hasn't scored, and it's only like Kreider who's really putting up points on that top line. So I think it's going to be a tight game, 2 good teams. I'm going to pick the under and a little sprinkle on the Rangers because I think they're the better team overall.
I think you can make a case for that. You like the under, I like the over, but you can make a case for both totals here in this game because the Rangers have been trending under big time. Tampa Bay has been trending over. Tampa Bay's 5-2 to the over in their last 7 home games. So that's why I think you can kind of go both ways with the total here. I just feel too with the Rangers, kind of a thought process for me is you play the stingy, tight, playoff style 1-0 game, and maybe you fall asleep a little bit more defensively tonight, and you're not as locked in defensively tonight coming off a game like that and a big win like that. So that's kind of my thinking too. I might go over the total, but again, you can make a good case over or under, in my opinion, in this game tonight, no doubt. As far as props go, just quickly, for the Rangers, I stick to Vinny Trocheck. Because he's been very good lately for them. Roslovic on the top line, although he hasn't connected yet. I think he will at some point. And then for Tampa Bay, I would say probably go with Anthony Duclair. I believe since he's gone to Tampa Bay, he scored a goal and an assist against Philadelphia. He's clearly still got it rolling, and he's still red hot from when he finished up in San Jose, and then he got traded to Tampa, and he scores a goal and an assist his first game with the Lightning against Philadelphia on Saturday. So keep rolling with the hot hand that is Anthony Duclair right now. The Duke has got it going for the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. All right, this is an important game. The Buffalo Sabres are somehow back in the playoff mix. 5 points back of the Islanders for the second and final wild card spot. This is a huge, huge game for both teams, but especially Buffalo in the trail position. The Islanders minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. You look at this island. The Islanders are playing very well of late. Patrick Waugh has got them obviously into a position where they've got a tie right now for the last wild card spot. They have won 6 of their last 7. They are off a loss to Los Angeles, losing to the Kings 3-0 on Monday night. And they had that 3-game West Coast road trip. And now they're doing one of these deals again where they make a 1-game pit stop in an eastern city here against the Buffalo Sabres before they finally go home here for this game tonight against Ottawa. They return home after this. A little bit of a tricky scheduling spot and a little bit of a tricky travel spot here for the New York Islanders. You're coming off the West Coast. You're here for this 1 game in Buffalo, and then you're back home. Sabres have real good mojo going, and suddenly here at home on home ice, we see what they've done lately. They beat Vegas 7-2. They beat Carolina at home. Very impressive win for the Sabres. The Winnipeg game was 2-2 in the third. They did lose that one, but it was 2-2 in the third. They beat Edmonton in a shootout at home. They crushed Detroit 7-3. They played good hockey at home. I'm going to go Sabres and draw split here. I do think it's a close game, though. I think it is a tight game. I think it's got a chance for overtime between these two teams. So I do like the draw a little bit here with the Sabres and the Islanders. But I like Buffalo here, minus 105. They need this game. They need it quite a bit. It looks like we're going to see for goaltending tonight in this game, Sorokin and Luukkonen are going to be confirmed in net. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen picked a pack of pickled peppers, as I like to say. He's been very good for the Buffalo Sabres of late. He's had the odd, different type of rougher start. But for the most part, he has stabilized the net for Buffalo. And he's been more steady than not. So I'm going to go with Sabres money line, Sabre, and a little bit on the draw, smaller on the draw here as well with the Islanders and the Sabres tonight. I'm kind of neutral on the total in this game. I think it could go either way with the total. And by the way, in Buffalo, the Sabres have beaten the Islanders 6 straight times here in Buffalo, going back to 2021. The Sabres are 6-0 in their last 6 games hosting the New York Islanders. So, and And I think the Islanders need the points too. Buffalo really needs it because Islanders have games in hand on the Sabres. So the Sabres have that as a disadvantage. So this is so important for Buffalo. For a team I wrote them off a few weeks ago. I'm giving them a shot here tonight. And look, I was rewarded with Buffalo against Detroit. We had Buffalo money line, Buffalo team total against Detroit. Couldn't have been easier. They rewarded me with my confidence the other night. I'll see if they can do it again tonight. What do you think here in this one, Matt? Islanders, Sabres.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this one. I do lean Buffalo. I think they're, giving themselves a chance to be in the mix. Do I think they'll be in the playoffs in a couple of weeks? Probably not, but they are, still alive, if you will. And they have been playing well. So I would lean Buffalo. One thing I took here pre-show was I got on the over 5.5 on this game. The Islanders aren't as low and slow as they used to be. And Buffalo, really needs these points. They've, put up some goals lately. So I love it at that. I think I had to lay a little juice. I think it was like minus 125 when I got in. But 5.5, I think this could be a 3-3 type draw. I saw in the chat someone say 4-4 exact score. I think that could, obviously hit. So I like it at over 6 as well. So I'll probably split it up and put a little on the first period over as well here. But yeah, I mean, I lean Buffalo. I just think I need another decisive win to really feel that they're trying to make a playoff push. They've definitely shown that they're in the mix, but I need another win to, really side with them. But, minus 105 is good value for a home pick 'em almost. So I could definitely see taking Buffalo.
All right. What do you think, Eric? Islanders, Sabres?
I'm actually leaning Islanders here because I think they look pretty good since Roy took over, and I'm not sure about Buffalo yet. They look good against a really bad Detroit, but
that's fair, Eric. There's an element to this where just when you start to get excited and a little confident in Buffalo, they'll just pull the rug out from under you and lose 5-1 tonight. So I hope not, but they've done this before.
Yeah, they disappointed before the Sabres for many years now. So I'm leaning Islanders, and I'm also have been looking a little bit on the under 6. I think it's 2 good goalies, even if Islanders are not that of a tight team like they were under Barry Trotz. But I think Sorokin has been looking good the last games as well. And like you said, Ian, the Ukko-Pekka has been good also for the Sabres. So maybe a little bet on the under 6 and also a bet on the Islanders money line. But I can see this game be a draw. It's going to be a little bit of a playoff game, like we talked about with the Panthers, Hurricanes, 2 teams that are close in the standings and are fighting for a better spot in the standings. So I'm going Islanders, little sprinkle on the draw, and under 6.
All right. So the common thread with the 3 of us here on this game, I like it. We're all over the map, but we're all on the draw. We all kind of like the draw in some form. I like Buffalo. Matt's leaning Buffalo. Matt likes over. I'm neutral on the total, and Eric likes the under. So we're all over the map here. We got opinions galore, alternating opinions galore here on this Islanders and Sabres game. That's all right. That's great. That's better when the show's better actually when there's different opinions here on some of these games. No question about that. As far as props go, I would say Islanders stick to Nelson, Horvat, Barzal, Palmieri. Those are the guys getting it done for them. Those are the guys carrying the offense. So don't deviate from that. For Buffalo, I would say, because as long as Girgenson's on the top line, I'm going to take a shot with his prop. Benson scored for me the other night against Detroit. He's on the second line. He's plus 650 to score a goal. Great value. And he scored the other night against Detroit playing with Cousins and Greenway on the second line. Peterka scored. He's always worth a look. So keep an eye. And Bowen Byram. Byram, you got to bet him right now. 4 points as a Sabre in 3 games, 3 goals in the last 3 games, 2 in the last game. His props have extreme value right now for Buffalo. He's dynamic blue liner. He reads the play so well. He's a great skater. He joins the rush. He's got a good shot too. People don't realize how good his shot is. It's better than people think. He's plus 600 to score a goal tonight at FanDuel, and you can get even just minus 115 for him to get a point. Minus 115 to get a point for Bo Byram tonight for Buffalo. So I think that is something you got to look at.
I was going to add that as well. The Byram point, I played that earlier today because I think he's been looking really good with Dahlin. They're moving the puck really well. And also that power play has been, I think it's better when he got into the team. He's like coaching the other players how to move the puck quicker, and I saw some clip of him his first game. He's like pointing everywhere where people should go and move the puck. So I think it's been a great addition for Buffalo. So definitely gonna take the point prop on Byram.
I agree with it, Eric. 100%. You got to look at his props right now. He's got 4 in 3 games with the Buffalo Sabres as far as points are concerned. And he's got instant chemistry with his new defense partner, Rasmus Dahlin, for Buffalo. They have done a great job. And its early returns are looking very good on that Casey Middlestat, Bo Byram trade between Buffalo and Colorado for the Sabres, because Byram's been excellent since he's joined this blue line. All right, next up, we've got Toronto, Philadelphia. The Leafs minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. The Leafs have had a nice little break in their schedule. They haven't played since Saturday. Not a lot of teams get that many days off at this time of year, but nice little break for Toronto. Unfortunately, it still means not enough time, though, for Mitch Marner to return to the lineup. He's still out for them. Samsonov in net for the Leafs. Samuel Ersson once again for the Flyers. You know, this game's an interesting one here, Leafs and Flyers. We got Philadelphia. They beat San Jose 3-2 in their last game, bouncing back from that ugly 7-0 loss to Tampa Bay. This is the second game with John Tortorella serving his suspension. So it'll be Rocky Thompson and Brad Shaw manning the bench here tonight for this Philadelphia Flyers team. Yeah, this game's not a strong take on it for me. I know the Leafs have dominated Philadelphia. They've won 7 straight over the Philadelphia Flyers. So, you know, I would think with the time off, I lean a little bit to the Toronto Maple Leafs here on the road. But, you know, Philadelphia is playing for their playoff lives right now. They're a slight home dog. I don't know if the value's there to go against them in this spot. So I'm going to stay off that. I am going to be on the draw. We saw overtime in February in Toronto when these teams played. 4-3 Leaf win in overtime over the Flyers. That's the only bet for me pregame here is the draw in this one. Matt, what do you think here? Toronto, Philly.
Yeah, I lean Toronto here, just given the break and the fact that Torts won't be on the bench again. I think that first game of suspension, you really want to win for him. And they, you know, obviously were playing in San Jose, but got that win in. But then it's sort of just, you know, then you start to lose value in not having your head coach on the bench after that first game, because you kind of lose that initial, hey, we got to win it for him. But what I'm going to do, because I kind of go back and forth, is I think I'm going to split it between Toronto money line and then Toronto team total over 3.5, which is plus 125, on the off chance that, you know, it is a 4-4 draw and then Philly wins. You know, at least you are plus money on the team total there. So those will probably be my only 2 plays. I don't foreshadow it being that high scoring, but I think given the rest, I think Toronto comes in and scores a few goals quick. So I'll be on Toronto and the team total over.
All right, like in Toronto, Matt, in this one, minus 115, and splitting it up with the team total here, which is a pretty good price on that, actually, over 3.5 at plus 125 to plus 130. So you do get a pretty good price with that. Yeah, I definitely, to me, Toronto's dominated the Flyers, and they've had some rest. And I think that matters. I think that's sometimes you can get good at performances from teams when they've had this long. They haven't played since Saturday. Not a lot of teams at this time of year have that many days off. So I think that's probably a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Recharge their batteries a little bit. Yeah, it would be Leafs or pass for me. What do you think here in this one, Eric? Leafs, Flyers.
I played the first period over 1.5 for minus 129. And also the team over on Maple Leafs, because like you guys said, I think the rest is good for the team here. And also I've seen a couple of Flyers game where they just let a lot of goals in at once. Like when it's the gates open, it's just flooding in. It's a lot of games they pull the goalie and switch it out, and the Earson is usually the guy who's starting those games and is letting in a lot of goals. And I think also when Torts is not on the bench, it's maybe can be a really good advantage for the Maple Leafs. I don't think that is good for the Flyers team, because I think he's done a really good job with the Flyers. With
No
the
faith in
players
Rocky Thompson and Brad Shaw? You don't think they're the next second coming of Scotty Bowman?
I'm not really know anything about those guys, but I think Torts has been doing a really good with that Flyers team this season. I was not like really hot on that team before the season started, so big ups to him for doing a good job. For props, I'm gonna see if it's up, but I see Kalle Järnkrok is playing the first line and also first power play. So maybe if you find that one on any sites, I'm not on FanDuel, so maybe they have it. Here it is, Kalle Järnkrok only goal. Can be worth a shot, a small amount. Playing with Matthews and Bertuzzi. So I think Järnkrok can be a good prop bet.
You would have sworn Eric's been on this show for 3 years or 4 years or 20 times, because he's basically looking at the same theory we've talked about for years on this show, the player moving up the lineup to the top line and how there's always value. And yes, I'm going back to Kalle Järnkrok here for the Leafs is on the top line here tonight with Matthews and Bertuzzi. It's great value. I like it a lot. It makes sense. Take a shot with Kalle Järnkrok on that top line. Looks like Domi, Tavares, and Nylander going to be on the second line. And I'm going to throw out another goal prop for Toronto. The guy that just signed a 2-year extension with the Leafs yesterday. And you know how sometimes that gets you going. And he's been shooting the puck a lot. And he went through a little drought and he scored against Montreal. I think he scores tonight. And the floodgates open again. He's been shooting a lot. It hasn't been going in, but he got a goal against Montreal. He just signed the contract extension for 2 more years with the Leafs yesterday. That's Bobby McMahon for the Toronto Maple Leafs here, and he get a great price on it as well right now for them as well. The extension, the fact he snapped a long goal drought, plus 400 at FanDuel. All of that makes a lot of sense here to me. And you're right. I like the Järnkrok look that Eric mentioned. That one's a good one. Bertuzzi is probably still worth a look. He's getting his chances. He's on the top line as well. Those would be the main goal props that I would focus on for Toronto. For Philadelphia, Tyson Forster's been solid. Morgan Frost against Toronto. It's a team I think he grew up cheering for. I think those could be a couple of props worth a look as well. All right, we've got 4 games left. New Jersey and Dallas next up. Dallas minus 180, home favorites, 6.5 the total. Just a heartbreaker for Dallas. Including Stars fans like Maddie the other night. Tough one, 3-1 lead in the third period. It goes 4-3 Florida. They capitalize on some power plays, a couple of good bounces as well, went Florida's way. But at the same time, Dallas played a great 2 periods. It's like the Vancouver game. You got to take some positives out of it if you're Vancouver last night. You played 2 great periods. You didn't finish, but you can still take positives out of it. Same thing with Dallas. You played 2 great periods against Florida and you didn't finish, but you still played a really good team, and you outplayed them for 40 minutes, just like Vancouver did last night against Colorado. So I think tonight in this matchup against the Devils, the focus is going to be, hey, wipe that taste out of our mouth. We got to, get back on track here. That's for Dallas after a tough loss like that. You get a New Jersey team that's struggling mightily, 1-5 in their last 6 games. The only win was at home against St. Louis. Every time they've played a good team since Travis Green took over, it's been an L. They lose to Florida. They lose to Carolina. They lose to the Rangers, all by 2 goals or more as well. They lose to the Panthers 5-3, Carolina 4-2, Rangers 3-1. This is a bounce back spot here for Dallas. We're going to go multiple ways here with this. Dallas first period puck line -0.5. A Dallas team total over. Give me a little Dallas full game puck line as well, since New Jersey's lost to every good team since the coaching change by at least 2 goals. So Dallas to bounce back all the way around. Maybe even a little full game over as well, but focusing mostly on the Dallas side of the equation. First period puck line, full game puck line, Stars team total over 3.5. New Jersey's just not beating good teams right now, period. And like I said, they have lost 3 games. Every good team they've played since the coaching change. The coaching change hasn't mattered. Lost by 2 goals to Florida, to Carolina, and to the Rangers. This is another heavyweight they're dealing with. A heavyweight that's angry, too, and not amused after losing to Florida the other night. So what do you think here, Matt? Devils, Stars?
Yeah, Tuesday, I tried to be, unbiased. I didn't really pick a side. I thought that was going to be a good game. Obviously, didn't like how the outcome happened, but it was a good game, 4-3 game, 2 good teams. So, but this is because of what happened and how Dallas, again, I don't really think it was a collapse. They took a couple bad penalties, and Florida just kept their foot on the gas like they tend to do on the road. But yeah, I think this is a bounce back game for Dallas. I could see this again. I'm not going to say it's a 9-2 type game like in Nashville, but I'm heavy on Dallas on this one. I'm going to be on the puck line. I'm going to be on the team total over. A number of prop bets, one of which I'll get into a little later in the show, but similar. Wyatt Johnston, Stankoven, Rupe Hintz. If they're going to win big, both that top and third line are going to be chipping in. Jamie Benn, things like that. So I kind of like the over. I would like it more at 6, just in case it is like a 5-1 type game, 4-2 even. So I may try and get that in live if there's no goals in the first couple minutes. I'll probably take the first period over pregame, even though you've got to lay some juice. Again, Dallas traditionally gives up a goal early, but then I think they still roll in the first period. So I am on that Dallas puck line on the first period as well. So yeah, I think this is a bounce back game for Dallas. I think they know that they sort of missed out on 2 points. So tonight they need to decisively get those 2 points and not leave it up to chance.
Yep, I think you're going to get that. And Jake Ottinger, and by the way, it's a mismatch. I think it's a mismatch in net. Jake Ottinger against the other Jake Allen. I know which Jake I'd rather have in net right now. And Jake, and I know it's his Devils debut, and there's that element of team's going to be pumped up. They want to get him a win in his first start. He's just not very good right now. I mean, look at these numbers: 7 goals allowed to St. Louis, 4 to Washington, 4 to New Jersey, 3 to Nashville. Hasn't been playing good hockey all season. 3.65 goals against, 892 save percentage. It's inconsequential to me that they're going to want to win this one for him. He's not playing well, and he's the vastly inferior goalie in this matchup. What do you think here, Eric? New Jersey, Dallas.
Yeah, I'm with you guys here on the Stars train. I'm gonna play Stars puck line on this one because I think they're gonna beat them pretty clear. And also the team total for Stars. They've been over 3.5 goals pretty much every game. I think 5 of the last 7 they're over that line. Yeah. So yeah. A lot of bets on the Stars, and like I said, finding a lot of props for the top line guys there, and also the Heiskanen assist. I'm gonna look to have a bet on plus 103. He has 7 points in his last 5 games and no points in the 2 last, so I think he's gonna get back on the score sheet tonight for sure.
All right, next up, we've got Anaheim and Minnesota. Yeah, as far as props, I'm repeating what I've always said a lot. Johnston and Stankoven, I'm always interested in their props when the Dallas Stars are playing, so I would probably stick with that in this game. Steele is on the second line, and I thought he had a couple of chances the other night, and still might be worth a look as long as he stays up there with Duchesne and with Marchment on the second line for them. All right, Anaheim and Minnesota. Minnesota minus 280, home favorite, 6 the total in this one. I like Minnesota team total over here. That's the way I think to approach it. You get over 3.5, minus 135 to minus 140 right now at Pinnacle, a reasonable enough price. It actually lost the Minnesota Wild to Anaheim the last time they played in Minnesota. It was Hockey Day in Minnesota, I think it was January 27th. Anaheim won 3-2. But prior to that, Minnesota had beaten Anaheim 9 straight times, and they had scored 4 goals or more in 5 straight meetings over the Anaheim Ducks prior to the 3-2 loss to the Ducks in Minnesota back in January. So Wild team total over 3.5 for me. Right now, I'm not trusting Anaheim's D at the moment. We saw them give up, 7 to Chicago, 6 to the Islanders, 6 to Dallas. They've given up 19 goals in the last 3 games. Even with Dostal in net, he didn't play particularly well against the Islanders. It'll be Fleury for Minnesota. Yeah, Wild team total over. Might get involved with a smaller stance, too, on the bifecta in this game. 1.5 and over 6 as well. What do you think here in this one, Matt? Anaheim, Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm on the bifecta as well here. I mean, I obviously lean Minnesota. Every point counts for them, as you saw when they pulled the goalie last weekend in overtime. So they're still trying to get into the playoffs. I don't think they'll take the Ducks lightly. But again, it's one of those situations where I don't think this will be a massive blowout because the Ducks have nothing to lose. So they're going to play loose. They might score a couple goals, which makes me really like the over in this one. But then again, yeah, I'll be on the first period over. I'm trying to look. I don't think there's a ton of value in the team total over for Minnesota, given that it's like minus 150, minus 160. I think they'll score 4 goals, but I don't know that I'll lay that juice. So probably just the bifecta for me pregame. I don't think the Ducks really have a chance in this game, but I'm definitely not laying 280 on Minnesota. So that'll probably be my only plays here for this one.
All right. What do you think here, Eric? Anaheim, Minnesota.
I think the Wild, it's gonna not take the Ducks easily, like you said. I put the Wild puck line minus 1.5 for a minus 107, and I also played the team total for the Wild. And as far as props go, I'm playing Hartman point. He's moving up to the top line with Eriksson Ek out. And Kaprizov goal anytime. He's scoring pretty much every game now, so that's what I'm looking at this game.
And be careful with Dostal here. I like the kid. He's had a nice run. He's had some terrific games, especially earlier this year, like early in February and January. He had some great performances, but he had that. But that was definitely a tough game for him. He was not good against the Islanders. He replaced Gibson in the game and gave up a goal on just 5 shots. He has easily hit his season high in games started for Anaheim in his career. 32 games already this year, just 19 last year. Again, this kind of a workload thing that I'm a little bit worried about here with Dostal moving forward. A little bit concerned now that this is a guy that hasn't played this many games at the NHL level in the past. So a little bit worried. Same thing we've talked about this with Alex Lyon. Earlier, that we're just concerned that you're not going to get him playing his best or as well down the stretch because he's getting tired, fatigued. Number of games are piling up on him. So keep an eye on Dostal, not tonight moving forward. Maybe he can play great tonight, but I do have my concerns moving forward here. Yeah, Hartman's a good prop. Hartman's been lighting it up for Minnesota. Husnudinov is a great look. Marat Husnudinov here for Minnesota. He's making his debut. They like this kid. I think he's going to be given an opportunity tonight as well. I don't mind that look either for the Minnesota Wild tonight. He's going to slot in with Foligno and Freddie Gaudreau on the third line for Minnesota. And they're going to put him out on power play 2, looks like. Power play 2, the second unit. He'll be on the power play for Minnesota. So Marat Husnudinov's worth a look, I think, as far as getting the goal prop in there to see if maybe he can cash in his NHL debut against an Anaheim defense that's crumbled in their last 3 games. So maybe it's an opportunity to get this young kid his first goal in his first NHL game. All right, we got Vegas and Calgary. Vegas minus 165, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game tonight. You know what we're doing here in this game. You know what we've talked about with Calgary. The defense is a total shambles right now since they traded away both Hanifin and Tanev. They have not kept the puck out of their own net. It's been a disaster. They play, and I know it's Dustin Wolf in net tonight, the future in net, but he has not been immune to bad nights and bad games, and he's got a defense that's struggling mightily in front of him. Remember, the last time we saw this guy start, he gave up 6 goals to San Jose. That's hard to do. Okay, 6 goals allowed to San Jose, but Dustin Wolf gave up 6 to the Sharks. He gave up 5 to Vegas when he played them earlier this season as well. And right now, this blue line's just not in any good form right now for the Calgary Flames. I like Vegas in regulation. I like Vegas team total in this. That's the one I like the most, is the team total. Vegas over 3.5 minus 110 is dirt cheap. Minus 108 with that Vegas team total over 3.5. Every opponent's going over their team total against Calgary right now. And the one thing about Vegas with Jack Eichel back, they're starting to get their offense back and up and running again. 5 goals in back-to-back victories against Detroit and Seattle. Calgary's given up 6, 7, 5 in their last 3 games. So I do like Vegas regulation a little bit, but really, really, really like the team total. That's the one I'm going to be really invested in here in this game. The team total, I don't have to worry about how much Calgary scores. Just do what teams have been doing against Calgary, and that's scoring 4 goals repeatedly, at least against this depleted blue line. So Vegas team total over 3.5 for me as we continue to take these team totals against the Calgary Flames. By the way, for Calgary, Jacob Markstrom is still unavailable day to day. That's why he's not starting tonight. Mangiapane and Kuzmenko are game time decisions for the Flames as well. And then on the Vegas side of the equation, no changes. It's still Martinez long-term IR, Carrier long-term, and Aiden Hill in net for them here tonight. What do you think in this one, Matt? Vegas, Calgary.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to stop, betting the team total over against Calgary, especially not with a Vegas team that, obviously has some offensive weapons. So as much as it pains me, I'm going to be on Vegas team total over. I don't hate the puck line or a regulation win as well. I don't know if I'll jump on it. Calgary's in one of those positions. They're not technically eliminated yet, but it's looking that way. So I think you do see some loosey-goosey offensive play, which, I do think they score a couple goals in this game. Aiden Hill has not been perfect his last couple starts by any stretch. Obviously a great third period on Tuesday night against Seattle for the Knights, but Aiden Hill, gave up some shaky goals. So I think Calgary scores a couple here. So I'll be on the over by Fecta, first period over, game total over. And then Vegas team total over will be my biggest play for this one.
You know what? I'm adding over trifecta here as well. I'm looking back at some numbers prior to the Vegas Seattle game. Vegas had given up a goal to the opponent, I believe, in 4 or 5 straight games. They've been giving up an early goal, Vegas, quite a bit. So that both teams to score in the first period might be live tonight in this game. So I'm going to add the over trifecta on top of Vegas in regulation and Vegas team total here in this game. So that's over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period, and full game over 6.5. I'm going to add that because I think this could be like a little bit like Colorado Calgary the other night, that kind of game flow between these two teams. And Aiden Hill hasn't been great. Let's be real. Aiden Hill has struggled with his confidence a little bit lately for Vegas. So Calgary might be able to chip in tonight offensively. Eric, how about you? Well, what are you liking in this game, Vegas, Calgary?
Yeah, I like the team total on the Golden Knights. Like both of you said, Calgary has been struggling lately since they moved a couple of pieces at the trade deadline. And Wolf has not been like as good as maybe you thought before the season started. Maybe not NHL ready yet. So I'm going to go for the team total here. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go puck line Vegas as well, but maybe have a look at that as well.
Good stuff there. I think we're all in consensus here for the most part with this game, Golden Knights and Flames. Just some props that I'm interested in here for Vegas. I'll mention Anthony Mantha on the second line with Stevenson and Howden. There's a little value there. It looks like, the top line's been really good late the last couple games here for the Vegas Golden Knights. Eichel's starting to get more comfortable. I still think there's value on Dorofeev, Carlson, and Amadio. That's a very good third line right now for Vegas. I would maybe sprinkle on some props with those 3 players tonight. And then for Calgary, I'm keeping it simple. I would Pospisil's got value on the top line, maybe a little Blake Coleman as well, and Igor Sharangovich. I know he didn't score the last game, but still been red hot for the Flames and almost very reliable as it gets on their side of the fence as far as scoring goals right now. No question about that. All right, this has been a long one, but we have reached our final game of this Thursday slate, the Washington Capitals and the Seattle Kraken. We've got Seattle minus 170, road favorites, or home favorites, I should say, in this game. The total currently 5.5 shaded to the over here in this game. Obviously, that was a disastrous result last night for Washington. And sometimes that's going to happen when you play the Edmonton Oilers. Things are just not going to go your way, and it's going to get away from you. And it got away from them quickly last night against actually, they battled back. They tied it up, but then Edmonton gets the lead right back, and then it basically got away from them after that. Joey Daccord in net for Seattle tonight. Charlie Lindgren expected for Washington. Looks like Jaden Schwartz is day-to-day with an injury. Vince Dunn remains out for the Seattle Kraken. This is a Seattle or pass spot for me, but I don't know. The price that we're getting here, minus 170, don't love the price, but I can't back. I'm not backing Washington on a back-to-back. Now, they are coming off a humbling loss, a little bit of an embarrassment the way it went last night against Edmonton. So I'm sure they'll fire back with a strong effort. But, this Seattle team, too, another thing that I factor into this handicap as to why it's Seattle or nothing for me, they may not take the Capitals lightly after what happened against Vegas. They had a win in their back pocket. They're up 3-1 in that game. Vegas comes back, ties it, and then Vegas wins in overtime. After a loss like that, I expect Seattle to be on the ball here tonight in this game. And Joey Daccord's more than capable. In fact, I still think Joey Daccord's better than either goalie that Washington has right now. He's certainly been playing better than Kemper. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Lindgren's had some really good starts, but lately he's been a lot more inconsistent, Charlie Lindgren in net. So I'm probably going to lean Seattle in regulation here. I don't see this one going to overtime. I think Seattle could put their foot down, and maybe I take them to win 60 minutes, get the regulation price close to even money. Let me see what the price is on that. If I bet anything in this game pregame, that's what it'll be, Seattle in regulation. You can get that at minus 110 right now at Pinnacle. That's not a bad price. I'm definitely going to probably put a couple bucks on that, Seattle in regulation. And then maybe if Washington, because they've still got their legs and the adrenaline from playing last night, if they maybe score the first goal, Washington probably bet Seattle money line live in game at some point. That's probably going to be my approach and get a plus price on Seattle at that time. What do you think here in this one, Matt? Washington, Seattle.
Yeah, knowing that Washington's coming off that humbling loss last night, to me, that's less of a factor than that Seattle sort of collapse against Vegas. Seattle's still in the hunt. They want to get every point they can, and obviously gave a point to a team, that they're battling with for those wildcard spots. So I'm all over Seattle here, but I'm going to break it up into a few different options. I am on Seattle regulation. I am going to jump on Seattle's first period puck line, which is looking like plus 150, plus 155. And then I am also probably going to take Seattle team total over 3.5. I know they're not, a team that puts up 8 goals on any given night or anything like that, but I just think it's a revenge spot for them. They are still at home, Washington on back-to-back. Even if you've got a tight first period and I end up losing that puck line, I think Seattle kind of steps on them late. Maybe you need an empty net to get 2-4, but either way, we'll take it. So, I'm all over Seattle here. I'm not going to lay minus 170 just for the money line, but I'll do it in those 3 sort of sectors.
Yeah, Dylan Strome has been red hot. You could, if for Washington, you could go with a point prop for him. I think Miroshnichenko, I might take a shot. You cashed a goal prop with him last night against Edmonton. I might go with his prop tonight as well. Maybe Hendrix Lapierre again. And then for Seattle, there's 2 clear player prop for goals that I like. Oliver Bjorkstrand, he's been really good lately on that third line. And the other, he's starting to heat up. He's very streaky, and he's a former Washington Capital. So he's going to want to play well tonight. Andrei Burakovsky for Seattle on that second line. I think he scored in 2 of the last 3 games. So Bjorkstrand and Burakovsky, really like those 2 player props to score goals tonight for Seattle. Eric, what do you think here? Final game, Capitals, Kraken.
Yeah, I picked Kraken puck line here. I think, like Matt said, they're gonna not be happy with the last game that they just threw away against the Golden Knights. So, and also the Caps on the back-to-back. I usually back the team that is not back-to-back in those games. So, yeah, Kraken puck line is my pick for this game.
Stuff. Kraken puck line -1.5 for Eric Delarose here with Washington and Seattle. And that's the thing. I know Matt is on the first period puck line. You might be wondering why I'm not on that. It's because a lot of times with the teams on the back-to-back, especially on the road, they have their legs in the first period, and the first period is often their best period. And then that's later in the game that they start to fade a little bit, and the performance often can get worse as the game goes on. Not saying Seattle can't cash the first period puck line, but that's why I decided to just go the full game with the regulation with Seattle here in this game tonight. But great stuff. Awesome show. Eric Delarose feels like he's been a natural on this show because he did a great job. The analysis was great. He was well prepared. He's throwing out great advice, great insight, great prop recommendations. Eric, hope you had fun on this first time on the Ice Guys show. It was great. Blast having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's always fun to talk hockey, I think. So
Yep.
I had a blast.
It won't be this long every time. Remember, we had to do the 30-minute introduction to Eric Delarose at the beginning. The show won't be this long the next few times that you're joining us here on the show. But we're almost done. Just quickly, we want to mention patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 per month. You know what's there. Sides, totals, player props every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, Patreon exclusive live betcasts. Make sure you sign up. $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys. Our next live betcast, which will be free for all, open to the public, Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you join us for this next betcast. We're definitely looking forward to it in a couple of weeks. And again, DM or email Alex or me for a spot on the link, and we will send it to you before the betcast begins. Check out the Ice Guys store as well. Get your gear and get your merch every day at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, we've got bargain bin special of the night. Eric, that's a prop of plus 300 or better that you like. Get one ready for the bargain bin special coming up. We'll also have best bets in a moment to wrap up the show right after we hear from our great sponsors, Boston. All right, Boston M Pink, make sure you check them out. 20% off all your orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys over at bostonmpink.com. No, the betcast is Tuesday, March. Did I say tonight? Maybe I accidentally did, but no, Tuesday, March 26th is the betcast. Tuesday, March 26th, so 2 weeks away. That's the next Ice Guys live betcast. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you got in the bargain bin tonight?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think this is a revenge game for the Dallas Stars. I think I'm going to take a player that's been hot, and this exact bet hit last Thursday that I was on. So I'm going to take Wyatt Johnston, 2 or more points tonight. I think if Dallas does get a nice, decisive win, I think that line chips in. Again, with Sagan still out, I think the Duchesne line's taking a bit of a step back. So hopefully they get going later in the season. Towards the playoffs. But tonight, I think Wyatt Johnston, maybe he gets a goal on the power play, an assist here and there. Stankoven, has been obviously on fire. So Wyatt Johnston, 2 or more points tonight in the Dallas, New Jersey game.
There you go. Wyatt Johnston over 1.5 points. Dallas Stars, bargain bin special for Matt Robinson. All right, Eric Delarose, your first ever bargain bin special of the night on the Ice Guys show. What have you got?
Was not really prepared for this, but I'm gonna go with a guy that I've been playing since he got back to the lineup. I'm gonna go with Pavel Saka in the Boston Bruins. For a goal, he's just under 300 right now, but I think he's been looking really good since he's got back from the lineup, and he's been making me some money the last couple of weeks. So I'm gonna go with Pavel Saka.
You know, there's one book that I see on my Bet Stamp app that's got plus 320 on Zaka. Most books have plus 280, plus 2. It fits the bill. It counts.
Yeah.
It made it. It's
Thanks.
good enough. Good enough. Pavel
Yeah.
Zaka, Boston, plus 320 for his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night. Look, there's two great choices on Toronto, and I like them both. I'm going to recommend them both. Calle Yarncroke plus 440 on the top line at FanDuel and plus 440, and Bobby McMahon off the new contract, scored the last game against Montreal, getting his confidence back, plus 400. So there we go. We got two big time plus 400 or greater bargain bin selections for me. Bobby McMahon plus 400, Calle Yarncroke plus 450 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, both of them. Two bargain bin specials for me tonight here on this Thursday show. All right, best bets to wrap up the show. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, some of the chat's going to hate it again with the Dallas Stars, but I think it's a revenge spot and it's good value on this bet. Dallas Stars team total over 3.5. I'm seeing it at minus 110, minus 115. I think they come out, they score often. I know it's Allen's first game in New Jersey, but I don't think that's a factor. I think Dallas rolls them tonight. So Dallas team total over 3.5. Let's get it.
All right, there you go. Dallas Stars team total over 3.5. Best bet for Matt Robinson. Eric Delarose in a very fine Ice Guys show debut. If we were giving him a PTO player tryout contract for his first time on the show, he'd get a contract. You passed the tryout. You're one of us now. Eric, what do you think? Your first best bet for this Thursday slate. What do you like?
I really like the Blue Jackets here at home. I think they've been looking good at home. So that's my Blue Jackets money line plus 111. I think it's the wrong favorite in this game. So, yeah, I'm going with that.
There you go. Columbus Blue Jackets plus 105 against the Ottawa Senators. Best bet for Eric Delarose. My best bet, we're going to do this has been one of the staples of my handicapping lately in the NHL. Calgary Flames can't defend right now, and I don't think they're going to defend tonight. Vegas team total over 3.5 minus 108. A great price. Vegas gets to 4 goals tonight, like pretty much every team lately has been doing against the Calgary Flames. Vegas team total over 3.5 minus 108 for my best bet for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap things up. Eric, before we wrap up the show, just some final thoughts from you. How did you enjoy your first time on the show?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's been it's been great. Like it's always nice talking hockey, and had a blast, and hope to get on some other time as well.
No doubt. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone tonight. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Matt Robinson and Eric Delarose, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow for a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys.